Today's adventures to the Mersey Bluff here in Devonport. This is a place where I'd come as a kid. We'd come up to watch the football, which I never enjoyed. So I'd sneak away from the football, walk up here to the bluff, check out the Aboriginal rock art, and play in the blowhole. I hope you enjoy this video. Today up here on the bluff is an Aboriginal cultural centre. I'm told by a local that it's actually not open very often. Some of the rock carvings that I used to scratch around the ground for as a kid are actually contained here in a building. That building is up there ahead of me. Unfortunately, it's not open today. But I know if I go out around these rocks and scratch around, I'll find some carvings. Let me show them to you. Okay, I found the blowhole that I remembered as a child, and I see that there is a rescue device location and a rescue device, and I can see why. Because when I used to get away from the footy here and come up here and play, when the sea's rough here, this blowhole is absolutely terrifying. It will spray you and probably wash you clean off this rock. Which is no doubt why they've added a safety device. It's a relatively calm day today and the blowhole ain't blowing. So this is where she shoots up. So if you're in Devonport and it's a rough day, come up to Mersey Bluff. Check out the blowhole. When it's really rough and there's a big swell on Bass Strait, the water gushes in this gap here and another one on the other side there. It comes all the way up here and it shoots straight up this side. It is by far one of the best blowholes in Tasmania. It's good reason I used to be scared when I'd come down here in rough seas. It really does look like many people have drowned here. So if you do come down here when it's rough, please take care. Here is another one of the rescue devices. It just shows you how dangerous this area can be. But it's also exhilarating. Whilst the Bay of Fires is the place most commonly known for the red lichen covered rocks here, Bay of Fires is in fact not named after the red coloured rocks. It's named because the original French explorers noticed fires in the bay. That was from the local indigenous people. You can find the red lichen covered rocks pretty much all the way around Tasmania, and here on the bluff is another good example of that. Up there in the distance, that's the entrance to the Mersey River. If you arrive on the Spirit of Tasmania, that's where you come in. That's the football ground where I'd sneak off and come down here and play on the Mersey Bluff. I hated football. Over there in the distance is the new Devonport Surf Club. It's a pretty spectacular building. The beach itself is not much to speak of. As a child, this was a favourite place we'd come for picnics. Back in the days when the Tasman Limited ran, you could catch the train from Wynyard here to Devonport, have a picnic out here on the bluff, and then go back home on the train in the afternoon. I remember on a couple of occasions, we indeed actually came out here with Aboriginal kids. As a kid, we'd host Aboriginal kids on our farm. I realised today that they were stolen generation. But the two girls, Jennifer and Marlene, and the boys, Donald and Douglas, all came with us here to this rather traditional Aboriginal site. I'm not even sure they were aware how indigenous this area was, but perhaps they were. Maybe they noticed the carvings in the rocks. I often wonder what happened to those kids. This is a map of the 9 nations of the indigenous tribes of Tasmania. The circle of rocks that you see here represents the 9 nations: Northern, Northwest, Northeast, North Midlands, Ben Lomond, Big River, Oyster Bay, Southeast and Southwest. This is an indigenous area where indeed they did live in roughly built huts. Some areas in Tasmania they just visited, but this is a place they lived. They would have eaten abalone, other shellfish, and dined on mutton bird. That's a delicacy here in Tasmania. It's a protected species, but the indigenous can still collect them. As a child, my father would go out to King Island and get them with his mate Tup. They're particularly greasy, but I liked it. It's called mutton bird, because guess what? It tastes like mutton.